You know, we have an amazing vision here at Potential Church, and we talk about people becoming Temple Centurions, and the temple is where God resides. It represents that spiritual area of our life, the supernatural, the miraculous, the kind of things that only God can do.
The temple where God resides. Well, in the Old Testament, the spiritual locality of God's presence was first found in the tent of meeting, the tabernacle, which was mobile. Then down the road a ways historically, God's presence was to be found in the temple that Solomon built. The question is, where is God's presence now? Hello, Bezel T3. That was Troy and Stephanie Gramling of Potential Church in Cooper City, Florida, visiting modern-day secular Israel and pumping up the Temple Centurion financial giving drive. Troy says that the temple represents the supernatural areas of our lives where the miraculous resides, things that only God can do. The only problem with that thinking is that the first temple was destroyed in 587 BC, and after being rebuilt and then finally refurbished in 37 BC by King Herod, it was destroyed again in AD 70 and has never been rebuilt since. Now, I'll leave the conversation of a third temple being built for another time.
You know, a centurion is one who guards, one who protects. And, you know, it's so cool. While we're here, we got to go and visit the garden tomb. You know, the tomb where Jesus was buried. And it was just so amazing to walk there through the garden and then even to get to go inside the tomb. And but we all know that, you know, Jesus didn't stay there. You know, 3 days later, he resurrected. But, you know, it's a centurion that guarded that tomb, that protected it. And, you know, so, you know, with our temple centurion, that's what a temple centurion is. They guard and protect the vision that God has given us at Potential Church.
Okay, a little context here. It's assumed that it was Roman centurions who were guarding the tomb of Jesus, but can we be sure of that? We get this from Matthew 27, where we read, "The next day, that is the day after preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, 'Sir, we remember how that impostor said while he was still alive, after 3 days I will rise. Therefore, order the tomb to be made secure until the third day, lest his disciples go and steal him away and tell the people he has risen from the dead. And the last fraud will be worse than the first.' Pilate said to them, 'You have a guard of soldiers. Go, make it as secure as you can.' So they went and made the tomb secure by sealing the stone and setting a guard." So was it the Jewish temple guards or was it Roman centurions? Well, there are good arguments for either case. But let's say they were Roman guards. What were they there to do? Well, they were there to keep the body from being stolen. Not quite a testimony of their hope of the resurrection, now was it? One thing I can tell you is the guards at the tomb, Jewish or Roman, were not there to guard and protect the vision of Potential Church.
You know, now it's a made-up word, right? It's connecting the Old Testament and the New Testament together as a temple centurion.
Technically, temple and centurion are two words that put together that make no sense at all. Roman centurions have been around since the early Roman Empire, let's say 100 BC or so, and only male Roman soldiers could become centurions. As for the Jewish temple guards, well, only Jewish priests and Levites were temple guards. Furthermore, the second Jewish temple was built in the Old Testament era and continued during the New Testament era till it was destroyed in AD 70. So none of this temple centurion stuff makes any sense at all.
It's that next step that we ask people to take. We challenge them to say, we want you to guard, we want you to protect, we want you to stand there for the vision that God's given us to make a kingdom impact in the world.
So more money given to Potential Church will make a kingdom impact in the world. Now, to be fair, Potential does do things that are positive. Here are a few.
Moving into our new season, we've made it easier than ever for you to step up and become a Temple Centurion. Here's how you can get engaged. First, choose which of the 5 areas or pillars you'd like to support. Launch is our initiative for starting new campuses in strategic areas such as New York City and Miami. Impact is how we bring healing and hope to our world through missions and community reinvestment. Elevate focuses on campus improvements such as new baptism areas and audio-video system upgrades. Innovate includes our outreach through television and trendy technologies such as Google TV and Roku. And finally, Accelerate is our initiative to reduce our debt load, thereby freeing up those resources for ministry and growth.
Making a kingdom impact by reducing the debt load? I mean, how did the early church make a kingdom impact? Well, Acts 17 is very instructive here. Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul went in, as was his custom. And on 3 Sabbath days, he reasoned with them from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and rise from the dead, saying, "This Jesus whom I proclaim to you is the Christ." And some of them were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, as did a great many of the devout Greeks and not a few of the leading women. But the Jews were jealous, and taking some wicked men of the rabble, they formed a mob, set the city in an uproar, and attacked the house of Jason, seeking to bring them out to the crowd. And when they could not find them, they dragged Jason and some of the brothers before the city authorities, shouting, "These men have turned the world upside down, and have come here also, and Jason has received them. And they are all acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus." And the people and the city authorities were disturbed when they heard these things. And when they had taken money as security from Jason and the rest, they let them go. So we can see that it was reasoning from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and rise from the dead. That is what was turning the known world upside down. Now, I'm so curious how this Temple Centurion Sunday played out last Sunday and what superhero Troy used. And we're going to do one more on Troy. Forgive me for doing this, but we're going to do one more on Troy and Potential Church this next Saturday coming up, Lord willing. And we'll find out where the presence of God resides today.